It's about showing up authentically and showing up in ways in which people can see that you actually care. And when they can see that, they will tell you anything. I think the question that we need to really be looking for the answer to is, what is it that all of our people really want? What is it that they want, and what is it that they desire? Now, I think no matter the size of your organization, whether you have thousands of associates working in your organization or just a few that are serving thousands of different clients and customers, it's how do you truly stay connected to those that are doing the work or those that are expecting something from your organization? And I think it's something that so many leaders talk about, how you can listen at scale or talk to the employees and associates. But to truly build that conversation at scale is just different than soliciting feedback. But doing it in an authentic way that truly connects with what people are experiencing, what they want, gives you the opportunity to actually put the right things in place for your people, which ultimately leads to better engagement and better top and bottom line results. It's a lot for sure. And that's what, luckily, we have a lot of leaders in our organization. When you think about Banfield having over 1,000 hospitals across the US, very similar to like a dispersed workforce where you have different markets, regions, et cetera. Yep. And it's empowering those leaders around how do they actually own culture and how they create culture. And it's really like how do you humanize the work experience? And I've always just looked back in my career, and I can talk about that in a second, but like looking back, when I was 16 years old, stocking shelves, sweeping floors, mopping bathrooms, cashiering, like I had this job, but I never forget that job. Because when people ask me my opinion or our team's opinion, how that really made us feel. Mm-hmm. And there's a difference between, yes, give me more money, but truly being heard and being seen and being valued is incredibly important. And so when I think about our over 19,000 associates, I need all of our leaders to own culture, to make culture their top priority, and then to really have that conversation at scale by talking and engaging with their people. And I've also found it's about asking powerful questions that get to the root cause. So it's not just, well, what do you want? It is, what can make your job better? What can make you more fulfilled at work? What is it that we could change that would make it easier for you to see more pets? And those types of questions that get at, this makes my work experience better or our team dynamic better, gives us those insights. And then as we continue that conversation, we gather the themes of what people are saying. And then that ultimately shapes our strategy. What I find is interesting is the massive disconnect that often leaders have with the people that are actually doing the work. Yeah. And when you create the right culture, people will tell you what's working or what's not working. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it takes a little while to get the insights from them, but it's about showing up authentically and showing up in ways in which people can see that you actually care. And when they can see that, they will tell you anything. And as an example, that's why I use Instagram differently than I use other social channels. Instagram is really a tool for me to connect with all of our associates and for people to see insights in terms of who I am as a person and who I am as a leader. And Dove, every month I'll do an either ask me question where I'll put a sticker on the story and say ask me anything, or I'll do something that's called Banter with Brian, and I'll get 300 to 500 questions every single time I do that. So having that consistency, being out there and again saying, this is what you want, here's what we're doing, does this make sense? It's inviting people to the conversation, but also I'm going to where the conversation's happening versus sitting in an office and expecting people to come to me to listen to what's happening. I think when I go back to where I started my career and how I've had the ability to grow my career over the years, I've always led this way. And it's always been a priority of how do you truly connect with people on what's important to them? Mm-hmm. Again, I'll go back to my early days. When people would come in, when the regional vice president, executive vice president, CEOs, et cetera, would come in, if they're talking to the people on the front lines about sales, profit, whatever that may be, to me, you could always watch people's reaction. There's a big disconnect. They're not connecting to the bottom line. They're connecting to something else. Yeah. And when I just believe it's always been the leader's responsibility to adapt to the audience I'm talking to and speaking to them about what's important to them.
Yeah.
So like when I joined Banfield, I went on my listening tour. I put on, first of all, I put on scrubs, worked in a hospital, shoulder to shoulder with our associates in these hospitals to understand what does it mean to be a veterinary assistant, technician, doctor, our practice manager who leads our hospital, our CSC who runs our front desk. What does it mean to be in their shoes so I can understand what are the pain points? So to answer your question, it's always just been in my DNA. And then it was clear and evident that as we were going to create our strategic roadmap, it wasn't about where's the company going. It was what's the associate experience of the future? What's the pet experience of the future? And what's the client experience of the future? And bringing all three of those together, but having them separate was important. So that way our associates understood, here's what's going to happen for me, or here's what I'm going to experience over the next 5 years. Here's what we're going to do around quality of care and the medicine in which we try to provide for pets over the next 5 years. And here's the client pain points and the client journey. And by separating those three, they ultimately all work in tandem. And then our conversation was validated by here's the roadmap. Does this make sense? And allowing our associates to vote on the roadmap. And then once we had that consistency, it was about taking action and getting things done. And so the final thing I'll just mention is when you are talking with people about what's important with them, that's going to be the most important thing. And I just have always seen through my history of when you take care of people, everything else follows.